Universities have also been caught up in the crossfire of results day as they are trying to fill their courses after what has obviously been a messy year. The last-minute announcement on Tuesday night of a triple lock on grades came after many institutions had already made offers, pushing the system into confusion. Well, joining me to discuss the backdrop for universities is Chris Waiting, CEO of news analysis website The Conversation, which is a joint venture between academics and journalists. Chris, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
First of all, why are universities being so generous about grades, as we're seeing in the media, making much lower offers now to students on the basis of the grades that they're actually getting?
Well, I think that institutions, recognise the unprecedented year that we've had. Ultimately, universities are businesses, and they need to make sure that they're recruiting sufficient students to come in the year ahead. Of the various streams of students that most institutions get, I think almost all of them are expecting to see a decline in the number of international students they see joining, and so there's an effort to increase potentially the number of UK students that they are able to attract, and I think the offers reflect that.
Is there an issue then that potentially devalues degrees in the long term, or also that many of these students might not be able to actually hack it when it comes to the courses themselves?
I don't think so. That overall the changes are not too large, and the government has imposed caps on student numbers by institution that should stop the top institutions snaffling students away from smaller institutions.
Right, looking ahead to the year, it's going to be a very different one for universities, isn't it? I mean, we already know there's not going to be a lot of face-to-face time. And as you say, there's still uncertainty about how many international students will turn up. What will it actually look like, do you think?
So I think that universities have been working very hard over the last few months to find ways to preserve the student experience. They know this is not what a lot of 18-year-olds wanted with their university experience, but clearly the trade-off between that and deferring. I think young people have looked at the prospect of spending a year at home with mum and dad without being able to see their friends much, without being able to travel, without potentially being able to get a job, and decided that going to university is still the better choice. And so, in fact, deferment rates have been flat with last year. And things will clearly be different. Different institutions are handling things different ways. They're putting bubbles around a whole campus. They're putting bubbles around particular subject groups or around dorms as a way of trying to keep people safe with increased testing and things. But absolutely, it's going to be a very unusual time for all involved.
And what about the impact on research? Because this is what universities are ultimately about, many of them. This is the business, isn't it? Research.
That's absolutely right. And the message from the government coming out of the election last year was that research was going to be at the heart of the industrial strategy, and ultimately universities are the heart of research. And in recent years, it's been a sort of a rule of thumb that the funding you receive to do research only covers about 75% of the cost of doing the research. And so many institutions have had to subsidise that, particularly with international student income. With those numbers likely to be hit, it means that universities are having to look at, okay, how do we balance the books? In the short term, the government has made money available, whether that's through UKRI providing extensions to existing grants, or the business department has actually said that it will loan up to 80% of the lost income from international students. So I think in the short term, things may well be okay, but it might be a rebalancing of the research they do towards the areas they know are likely to generate profits further down the line.
It's obviously not just about money research, it's also about the people, and international academics moving between universities, etc., are going to be it's going to be much more difficult for them with coronavirus limitations on travel. Obviously, the UK is not going to be the only country affected by this, but is there a possibility that the UK will be better or worse off than other countries?
I mean, the UK is one of the leading research economies in the world. We have a truly world-class institutions, truly world-class research. I mean, even before coronavirus, between Brexit, there was a huge amount of uncertainty about the ability of UK institutions being able to participate in EU funding schemes, the next generation of Horizon 2020 and so on. So, this only adds to the uncertainty, and as you say, the ability of academics to move freely between institutions is certainly constrained. It will be interesting to again see what the government does in the longer term to make sure that the best and the brightest academics from all over the world are able to travel to the UK to do their research.
Going back to undergraduates, universities have been under increasing pressure to abide by market forces to offer courses to students which are value for money, i.e. are good at getting offers of lucrative jobs in the future. Mm-hmm. How is that affected if the students are turning up at universities and the courses are not as they seemed in the brochures because of coronavirus limitations? Are you expecting a backlash?
I mean, I think that in some ways the students signing up now are going in with their eyes open, that they know things are going to be very different. This generation is going to feel the burden of coronavirus for many years ahead. In some ways, the ones I think who may be challenged are the ones who were already partway through courses and have seen the academic year just ended, enormously disrupted, courses cancelled, moving online, where there hasn't been as much time to prepare as the ones who will be starting in the next few months. And those ones, I think, may well come back to universities and say, hey, I actually haven't got value from my experience.
I'm a little surprised that we haven't already seen mass challenges on refunds, bluntly.
It wouldn't surprise me if there were efforts over the coming year. That I think that it has been a real challenge. It's clearly something that affects every sector, not just universities. But those days in February and March when university students were being sent home and told, actually, no, you're not coming back, you're not having a graduation. I can see why they would feel hard done by. But the universities at that point had little other choice.